I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. I got something I got to do. I'll put the link in the in the chat, folks.
Doug, thanks for letting us stay over a little bit. Lee, see you tomorrow
Oh, no
night.
problem.
Yeah.
And you know, that Sky
This German
News
steel trimmer
reporter,
blade
I'm
replaces
actually a
every
fan of.
nylon spool on the market
Oh,
and never breaks on
absolutely.
contact with rocks, roots,
Got
or
your
fence posts.
video.
Every nylon trimmer head has the same fundamental flaw, and nobody was fixing it.
Sorry.
Nylon-
What am I doing here? Ha! Making noise in the background. Sorry about that, Doug. Ah,
There they
Doug
are,
is in the
Doug in
house.
Virginia.
Yeah, that's what.
Aloha, PSP fam. We'll see y'all Saturday night.
So what you got planned this weekend, Doug?
Oh, this weekend? I don't know. What do we have planned this weekend, honey?
Checking
I
out
don't know.
the
She
War
keeps my
Department
schedule.
there. There you go. All right.
Well,
guys.
usually drinking Dr. Pepper is involved.
There you go. There you go. That'll work.
We don't have any more. It's got to be cold. They're in the pantry.
But anyway, thanks guys for handing it off. Appreciate you.
Yep. Well, have a great show as always. We'll talk to you and have a great weekend, man.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, later.
Bye-bye. And actually, you know what he said? What do you got planned this weekend? I got to thinking about it. The UFL championship game is tomorrow. So we're football,
Yes.
the football, and
That'll be fun.
yeah. So we
I
got
just don't know the time yet.
don't know the time yet.
And we're getting chicken wings.
Getting chicken wings. Anything else? Can't get the pizza. We just had pizza earlier this week. And
Asian salad.
you want Asian chicken salad?
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
For the game?
Some game and some hamburgers with the French fries.
You want salad and the burger?
Just but just a little.
There'll be a small salad then.
Let's be honest. I don't want a big salad. Croutons, everything. You know the works. Okay.
So they were playing a video clip, Sky News, which is basically the Fox News international version, British or Australian, one of the two. And the View is saying stuff that just ain't true. It amazes me.
Don't they always say things
But,
around?
yeah, well,
They always
that's-
exaggerate things and twist things around. So
Yeah.
to me, it's old news.
Yeah. So
The View. So yeah,
and Gutfeld has his fun with the View. He's always,
picking on what's that?
especially Joy Behar.
There you go. I think she's 81. I think.
Yeah, but the Sunny chick, Hostin, Heston, whatever her name is. Yeah, she's kind of nuts, but she's the one. But anyway,
If you're on The View, you got to be nuts, Doug. Okay.
well, we've had a handful of people that weren't nuts. Elizabeth, what was Elizabeth's last name? Remember the Elizabeth gal
Yes.
that was on The View?
But she wasn't there very long.
I was actually willing to watch the clips back then because I liked watching her put them in their place.
Yeah, but yeah, didn't.
So hi everybody, Douglas V. Gibbs. And you know what? I forgot to hit record here.
Okay.
Oh no, it's recording.
Yeah, I can see.
Never mind, I'm recording.
Yes, you are, Dave.
So glad to be here. Glad you all are here with us. Chat room, hi, how you doing? We had a busy day so far, and we have a busier afternoon.
Yes, we went to.
Squeezing this in. So we went to breakfast.
Well, it was fun. I enjoyed the time with the girls.
Yeah, so I have a veterans breakfast I go to every Friday morning. There's some local veterans that we get together every Friday. A couple of soldiers. Used to be a couple of airmen. Now it's down to one airman,
Yeah.
Air Force. The sailor. We don't have a Marine yet. Yeah. And
But it's a good group.
it's a good group.
It's a good
and,
group.
and enjoyed, and all of us were there this morning.
Yes.
Usually there's somebody missing, but all of
Right.
us were there this
It
morning.
was a good group. You have the men.
They bring their wives, and so the ladies talk and the guys talk, and we talked a little bit about, we get into politics, we get into kind of military and our service, and sometimes we get into general discussions.
That's
We get
what
to
men-
talking about Iran.
With,
Yeah. What do you
the
ladies
women
talk
would talk
about?
about family, kids, went over to a nice vacation, the holidays. So you got your women on one side and the men on that side, or vice versa. But it's good because we all get together and different age group of women, and it's really good.
Got a stack of magazines on top of my bookshelf over there, but if you look on the wall behind it, there's a musket on the wall.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. Well, normally I don't have it spaced out so
yeah,
far,
no
but
kidding. What
but
happened to that?
it just that's the way it worked out.
And you have the speakers that take.
Yeah, that speaker's coming down. Yeah. Well, my dad had this house beforehand. He
Yeah.
passed away in '99, And he loved music, and so he has a speaker in like every room of the house. And he had a central system, so he just hit play, and it'd play through all the speakers
Yeah.
throughout the house, including the game room. And now we have technology where that's not necessary. You know, you get your Google speaker or
Which we
your
call it, yeah,
Alexa or
which
whatever you have, and ask it to
we
play
get.
music. You're good to go. Or you can do it even with your phone, and the speakers are good enough on these things anymore. So yeah,
That's a
all
good
these
thing.
analog speakers are not necessary.
Nope, not anymore.
They're sharp looking though, you know, good wood and stuff. And
But we can salvage the wood if you want.
well, no,
Okay,
it's
I'm just
it's shaped for a speaker.
Okay.
So, but anyway,
Okay.
got some new lights put on in our kitchen.
Thank you, Jesus.
Today. So we had a friend of ours come over who's a contractor. So,
Yes.
and then after the show, we go to the doctor's because I did something to my left shoulder, so I can't lift
Who knows?
I can't lift much higher than my chin. Reaching forward hurts. I did something, but you know how us guys are. We're always doing something to get ourselves in trouble. Mr. Dynamex says they're stuck in traffic on the Cambridge side of Boston. It's one of the things I love about where I live now. I live on the Oregon coast. I used to live in Southern California, and it took an hour or two to get everywhere, even if it was close. Now it's like yesterday we were in town, and we had to wait for like 12 cars to pass, and that's our definition of traffic out here.
I love it up here. I like the peace, the quiet. I like the fact that we don't have neighbors.
We're up in the hills a little bit.
Right
It's a warm day
upon
today,
us.
though.
Yeah.
It's in the mid 70s down in town, and it's up into the 80s up here on the hill where we're at. Now, our game room on the other side of the house stays cool because the beating sun beats on this side of the house. And then, so it's on the other side of the house, so it stays cool. So
Yeah.
when it gets real hot on this side, so we don't have central air, you don't have to. I mean, we get half a dozen to a dozen hot days a year. I'm not going to spend, tens of thousands of dollars on a central air system when I can either open the window or just go to the other side of the house until this side cools down or whatever, until it's cooler, and then open the windows.
Which is nice.
Yeah. And then, when it gets cold, you got your wood burning stove. So I throw some
Which works
wood in there.
wonderful.
I'm surrounded by trees, so I got enough firewood. I, just make it myself, just split it myself.
Yeah.
But Farmer Non, rotator cuff injuries suck. I know. I tore my right rotator cuff when I played baseball, and I basically threw my arm out. Basically, although it was also from impact with other players and stuff, because it was a not just rotator cuff, but it was also a torn labrum. So my right shoulder, it's only been the last few years where I don't wince. And I mean, this thing happened a long time ago, but yeah, just earlier this week, I moved wrong, I hit wrong. And so, yeah, but anyway, all right. Enough of this junk though. We got lots to talk about, a lot of things to
My
do.
shoulders are okay though.
Your shoulders are fine?
I didn't do anything. I'm, the only thing I do is weed whacking and I'm a happy camper.
So I have not talked about Graham Plattner from Maine much.
Do you really want to talk about
I've mentioned him. Oh yeah, I plan to talk about him a little bit today. Because I typically don't get too caught up in races that are not national races and not my local race.
Right.
Now I believe, while I tend to focus on national and my local, I am a firm believer that if you turn things around, you turn it around locally. Everything starts locally, right?
Yeah.
You know my saying.
Yes.
We complain about the cockroaches in Washington, but we breed them locally. Stop breeding them. So I'm a firm believer
Okay.
in making sure that local involvement's important.
It is.
And so, get involved, go to your city council meetings or your county supervisor meetings or whatever it is. Run for office. Donate to local candidates, whatever it might be. Have a voice. Participate. That doesn't mean that you ignore your state and federal offices, but everything really starts locally. Now, that said, other local races I typically don't get too caught up in unless there is a general message or a general influence. And that's where Plattner comes in. And it's funny because Maine is kind of an interesting animal. Well, when it comes to the senator, they have a I think a Republican and a Democrat, but the Republican might as well be a Democrat. Susan Collins.
Oh,
Susan Collins,
okay.
Murkowski, and Mitch McConnell have become, Mitch McConnell, especially lately, are kind of the Democrats in sheep's clothing.
Okay.
All right. So they got an R after their name, but most of the time they seem to side with the Democrats. And in the case of Mitch McConnell, I think he has a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But anyway, so Susan Collins, she just seems to always win. She's been there like 14 years, I think. And or no, 12 years, 14 years, something like that. Anyway, and so her seat's up. Remember, Senator holds seat for 6 years. And I heard it was 14 years. If that's the case, that means she probably got appointed, and served out somebody else's couple years, 3 years, something like that, and then has gotten reelected a couple times. And Mr. Dynamex, I lost my father when I was 33 also. Well, let's see. Yeah, hey, when I was born, you've got a good memory. Yeah, I was 30. Well, wait, 6. Yeah, I was 33 when he died. Oh, wow. Anyway, all right. And this was his place. He was the forever bachelor. He and my mom were married for a very short time. They divorced when I was a kid, so I didn't have a big relationship with him. But anyway, so get back to Grand Plattner now. So Susan Collins, kind of a libtard in Republican clothing, and so I really don't care. Everybody's talking about it, and the guy's got bad character. I don't think his character is any worse than probably most Democrats. It's just he's getting caught. I think a lot of them, they're just really good at hiding it. Right? And so, as a political commentator and constitutional historian, I watch this stuff. I pay attention. And I watch what political parties do. And here's the thing. The reason why I want to talk about him is not because of him. It's because I believe that he is a strategic move being made by the Democratic Party. Going back to, what was that knucklehead's name? Can't think of his name. He used to, Emmanuel, worked with Obama. Rahm Emanuel.
Okay.
Rahm Emanuel says, you never let a crisis go to waste. One thing I've noticed about the Democrats is when it comes to the political game, Republicans eat their political games like I eat chicken.
Yeah.
They just go for the best parts. The Democrats play the Democratic game like she eats chicken.
What?
There's only bone left, man. She eats the cartilage. She eats if it's not bone, she consumes it.
I love chicken. Chicken's
Yeah,
good.
but I eat the meat, and you eat like everything.
Well, because it was growing up, we were poor. You had to eat everything. You couldn't waste it.
Well, we were poor too, but I wasn't eating the cartilage.
That's because that's a choice that you made. And my parents were like, you eat everything.
All
So
right.
my parents told me.
Yeah. Usually the you eat everything for me was peas, and they wound up in my pocket because I
Hide peas.
had to hide
I like
the
peas.
peas. I like peas now.
You were picky, is what it was.
No, I wasn't picky. I ate a lot, but veggies, I've never been a big veggie person unless it was okra. Love okra. Everything else you could keep. And then over time, then I developed a taste for broccoli.
Broccoli is good for you too, and the cucumber is good for you
Yeah,
too.
then eventually I developed
Carrots.
taste for the peas and carrots and all that jazz. But
Okay.
when I was a kid, it was pretty much fried okra or nothing when it came to veggies.
Oh no, we had to eat the carrots. Whatever. We didn't have broccoli, but we did have
But
carrots and
anyway,
potatoes.
so my point is Republicans only do certain things. But when it comes to political system, like you eating chicken, the Democrats don't let anything go to waste.
No.
They will make everything an opportunity, good, bad, or in between. They will find a way to make it an opportunity for them to, quote unquote, progress. And so I'm watching
Next
this.
question.
Yes.
And you know what? Saying what you're saying about the Democrats, the
Mhm.
Republicans could learn something from that too.
Well, I mean, and
They
and I
could-
hear that a lot from people, and
Yeah.
please don't misunderstand
They
me.
could learn a lot from
I
that.
don't want the Republicans to learn from the Democrats and then play their games.
No, I understand that part.
So if you
Yeah.
learn
Right.
something that we can use to the positive.
Right, of
I'm
course.
not going to lower myself to the same level as the Democrats.
No, no different than what Trump's doing when with the what was it?
Oh well, no, he's not
No,
doing.
no.
He's not doing what they do.
No.
He's doing stuff they don't see coming,
No, no.
and we don't do.
No, let me make it clarification. What was that? What was that thing with the taxes? And was it the taxes? Are correct if I'm wrong. That he was. I'm not. I can picture it now in my head.
Tariffs?
No, that the Clintons put out there, and he's using.
Oh,
What
you're
is
talking. No, not the Clintons, but out there. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. What Dave Chappelle said.
Yes, okay.
So what she's getting at
Yeah.
is, and this is actually a good example.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what she's talking about is during the debate with Hillary Clinton during the 2020 election, and she accuses him of not paying his taxes.
There you
Why
go.
don't you turn your tax returns?
Yeah.
He says, well, you're right. I don't pay as much taxes because the game is rigged, and I know it's rigged because I use it.
Right.
It's rigged. If you want me to pay taxes, pass laws to change it so it's not rigged anymore like that. But you won't because you created it to be that way for your friends.
There you go.
And so Trump's appeal there, he turned the attack about how much taxes he pays into, hey man, I'm just a regular person here. And I'm in your system. You guys want to create it, and then you're
Right.
accusing me
Right.
of using the system you created. I'm just a guy like everybody else.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, change the law.
There you go.
So
Well,
in
that's my
that case,
point, yeah.
though, he wasn't using what they do to his. What he was doing is pointing out the absurdity.
Okay.
Kind of what Rush used to do, but Rush, would point out the absurdity sometimes with absurdity. But
Mhm.
Rush Limbaugh. But anyway, and
That's
so
my point. Learn something for the Democrats or Republicans could learn something like that too. What the Democrats do, that they can take it as a positive.
yeah. So Susan and so Grandma Cindy says Susan Collins always wins because Democrats put an idiot up against her, lesser of two evils. Yeah, because they like Susan Collins because she usually votes with them.
Mhm.
There are times that she doesn't, and recently she is starting to show some semblance of approval of the Save America Act. We'll see. Is there a statute, Dearman, Mr. Gibbs, is there a statute of limitations on a congressional subpoena? And if not, why hasn't Eric Holder been arrested denying a 2017 subpoena? Well,
That's a good question.
it's a more complicated question. I'm gonna chase this rabbit trail for a second, but I'm gonna get back on the main track. So technically, congressional subpoenas are simply requests. They're not supposed to hold the same kind of legal. They're not supposed to be binding in the same way, legally binding in the same way that a court issued subpoena has, technically, because we have a separation of powers. The power to subpoena belongs to the court system. So to have the same power of a subpoena as the courts have, the Congress would have to have that power. They don't. They have legislative power. Judicial power belongs to the courts. So technically, a congressional subpoena is a request. Someone shouldn't be able to be arrested for denying a congressional subpoena. That's the reason why, if the system was operating the way it's supposed to, the Congress would work with the courts to issue a court-ordered subpoena. Then, now, it's got bite because it was ordered by the courts, not just by Congress. It's beyond just a request to face Congress with testimony for a hearing or something like that, or a committee or whatever. So technically, it never had the legal hold in the first place. So by him refusing to show up, technically, he didn't break the law. Now, that said, I know our system has developed in such a way that congressional subpoenas are considered to hold that kind of power. They're not supposed to, but they do. That I know of, I don't know if there's a statute of limitations. I've not heard that there is. I could be wrong. Remember, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a constitutionalist. So I don't have the insight of some laws that a lawyer might have. So, but my current understanding is, as a constitutionalist, that subpoena shouldn't have that kind of legal authority anyway. That someone can be arrested if they don't show up. It's a request, not an order. It's an order if it comes from the courts. It's a request if it comes from Congress. Secondly, I know that the system sees it as being an order, even though technically it shouldn't be. Our system denies the Constitution and does a lot of things they shouldn't do. That I know of based on the current system, the current laws. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations. I don't think there is. So good question. Okay, get back to now. And by the way, Alan says fried okra. Yeah. Also says the fried green tomatoes are good. But anyway, all right. So now,
Fried green tomatoes.
yeah. Well, that's a southern delicacy, and I think an eastern delicacy too. I've had fried green tomatoes a couple times when I was a kid, and I don't remember if I liked them because I don't remember if I actually ate them. I know Grandma Mildred, my stepdad's mom, made them.
They're little, right?
Well, they're smaller tomatoes, but
Okay.
yeah, they're just.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But anyway. But I say you're welcome, Dearman. Yeah, and be reminded, I am a constitutionalist and I know the law probably better than some lawyers, but I'm not a lawyer. So I can't sit here and give legal advice. I can't sit here and like break down the law in a way that a lawyer can, nor should I. But I do appreciate the questions, and I'll always try to answer them the best I can. Now, get back to Susan Collins. Mr. Dynamax brings this up. Remember, she voted to impeach Trump, which she did.
Wow.
And that was after he's out of office, which you can't impeach someone after they're out of
No.
office. That's dumb.
You have to do.
But Republican, let's see, and Southern Maine might as well be Northern Massachusetts, liberalism and wokeness. Wolfness woke. Yeah, absolutely. Ranked choice voting, is it constitutional? Asks Alan. Ranked choice voting is very dangerous. If a state wants to implement it for their local elections, that's up to them. But if they want to institute it for federal elections, they would have to get Congress to approve it, because I think the law, the way it is right now, is Congress doesn't allow that, the way the law is written. So it depends on what kind it is. It's really bad. But if they want to use ranked choice voting for their local elections, they can. Now, if Congress wants to create a uniform law regarding how elections are going to be held for all elections, they could. Technically, though, that law shouldn't apply to local elections. It would only apply to federal elections, federal Congress, federal elections. Okay. Yeah. Now, getting back to Susan Collins and Plattner. So what I've been talking about is Plattner, I think, is a part of a scheme, a strategy. I think they knew damn well that he had all kinds of skeletons in his closet.
Mm-hmm.
That the guy's character was that the guy's character was worse than Pee Wee Herman in an X-rated movie. But
Okay.
like that comparison.
Oh.
So and so I think it's deliberate. I think they deliberately chose, because first of all, in the chat room they said earlier, well, gosh, they put a weak Democrat against Susan Collins because Susan is practically on their side anyway. So if you want to have a calculated experiment to determine how far you can push the boundaries when it comes to acceptable candidates and ideology, how far left you can go, how far messed up you can go, socialism, how far you can go with that while maintaining electoral viability, Why not? I really think that's what this is. The strategic context, I think, is unmistakable. Maine's Senate seat, currently held by Susan Collins. Thanks you for pushing buttons on my mouse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It didn't do too much damage. Susan Collins, I mean, it presents what political operatives would consider the perfect laboratory for such an experiment. Because Collins, like I said, she breaks with the Republican Party on key issues usually, including voting to impeach Trump, making her potentially vulnerable from both sides, and in many ways a Democratic Party ally. So from their perspective, if they lose to Collins, they haven't lost a reliably Democratic vote anyway. But if they win, they know they can push it as far as they want to get their guy in there, that there's enough people, right? So, and what makes this so telling is the nature of the candidate they've selected to test these waters. Because Graham Plattner is not just a Democrat. He doesn't just have, and he's not a Democrat that just has some policy disagreements with the mainstream. He's a self-proclaimed communist with a history of character issues that would have disqualified him from consideration in any previous era. I mean, his baggage is massive, right? You got the Nazi tattoo, you got the sexting, domestic abuse accusations, mocking a Purple Heart recipient,
That's horrible.
and other servicemen in ways that totally violate the basic code of military camaraderie. And then you got the other things. Let's not get too far here. It's a family show.
Yes, it is.
So, and the hypocrisy. I mean, you know, Plattner criticized soldiers as fat, lazy trash while simultaneously trying to leverage his own military service for
Right.
political gain. There was one veteran who said that, you know, we don't make jokes about our brothers and sisters dying. That's not something we do. That's not normal. But don't get me wrong. Military veterans, we do rib each other, especially when it comes to Marines and sailors. We do rib each other. It's like Tackleberry. He's a Army in the chat room on my Tuesday show. You know, and sometimes he'll throw out a squid joke, and I'll throw out an Army joke. You know, we'll give you, especially when it comes to the Army Navy kind of rivalry with the Army Navy game and stuff like that. There's a certain amount of rivalry there. This is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about ribbing. We're talking about saying things about service members that are just wrong, poor judgment. And he has this. Graham Plattner has revealed that he has a fundamental character flaw that should disqualify anyone from public office. Yet the Democrats, the leadership, they're standing behind him. They're standing by him. They're claiming he was properly vetted. I was watching this morning, and the two people that properly vetted, well, we didn't see any of this stuff. Really? And that was last night, remember? And the one dude, he had like the feminist young woman kind of sounding to his voice.
Yes.
Well, we did, you know, kind of
Basically, what it boils down to, though,
not
Dad,
as, you know.
he's a puppet.
Well, sure he is. Well, no, I don't. No, he's not a puppet.
Okay.
He's a tool.
Oh, okay.
He's
okay.
being used as a
Alright.
tool.
Does he even know what is happening?
He thinks he does.
Okay, because I don't think he does.
I think they're using him as a tool.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah.
I mean, the mountain of evidence. They say they properly vetted him.
No, they didn't.
So either, well, not even either. It tells us two things here.
Yeah.
Their political aims outweigh any morality or decency. First of all,
They're up to something.
in other words, power is more important than doing what's right.
Right.
And then second, Plattner is so ridiculous as a candidate. It's so mind-boggling that they didn't even see this about him and that they're standing behind him.
Mhm.
That it strains credulity to believe They're serious about him as a standard bearer. And this is why I think he's a test candidate. This is why I think, because if you look at history, radical movements, dictatorships, communism, socialism, all the, oligarchies, they do this kind of thing for a number of reasons. One, because they want to test the waters. Another reason is because they want to normalize increasing extreme positions and personalities over time. If you throw out this craziness often enough, it becomes normalized.
Yeah.
Look what happened with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders went from 6 years ago being too radical for the Democratic Party that they basically used the primary to make sure that Hillary was there ahead of him, to now he's the standard bearer. This is what they do, incremental testing of boundaries. And so Plattner, with his maximum character baggage, radical ideology, he's about as nutcake as they get, serves this function perfectly. And the double standard is breathtaking. So we were, remember earlier this year, we were watching the football draft, the NFL draft.
Yes.
Was it this year or last year? It was last year, not this year, it was last year's. The 2025 draft.
We watch it every year, yes.
Yeah. And remember, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, right?
Yeah.
Kid's talented, good arm, accurate passer, did well in college, and he didn't get picked until like the fifth round or sixth round or something like that? Maybe
6th or 7th, yeah.
Something like that.
But it was, yeah.
And everybody was like shocked
Right.
that he didn't get, and then when he did get chosen, he got picked by the Browns, who had already chosen Gabriel Dillon from Oregon. So not only did he get picked in a late round, he got picked by a team that had already gotten another quarterback. And so, he was either going to be a backup quarterback, he was going to have to fight for position. There was talk that he's going to wind up in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
And so, and we were at the time we were talking about it. Why did Shedeur Sanders drop so many rounds before he's chosen? Because he had a character issue. He walked around like he was God's gift to the game. Deion Sanders' son. He had a little bit of a head start. He'd been up around the game his whole life.
Yeah.
He did really well. But then you compare that to someone like Fernando Mendoza, who got picked by the Raiders this year. Guy's totally humble. He won the Heisman. National championship with a team, Indiana, that's never had a national championship caliber team ever in its history when it comes to football. Character matters.
It does.
And so in our society, character matters. If you're left, right, whatever, in sports, it don't matter. Sports, and people get mad at me, well, Doug, the NFL and the NBA and all this, they're so lefty. I know, but I enjoy the game on the field. NBA I don't watch anymore, although I am intrigued by the Knicks this year because they actually play defense. I haven't seen an NBA team play defense in 2 decades. But anyway, the moment LeBron James went to the Lakers, I stopped being a Laker fan. I like college basketball. But anyway, my point is I like the game. And when it comes to game, politics don't matter. It comes down to merit and character. Are you capable of playing the game at a high level? And are we going to keep you on the field because you got the right character? You're not a problem in the clubhouse. You're not throwing stuff. You're not going to get arrested, beating your girlfriend. We're looking for character. And so because of character flaws, some of these players, they go undrafted or they fall to later rounds. But a political representative can have deeply concerning character flaws, and we're supposed to look the other way because he might have a message popular with some people and because he served in the military. I have a problem with that. And so with that many character flaws by Plattner, how is it that the Democrat Party is still backing the dude? Purple Heart recipient Ted Daniels, who he attacked, who Plattner attacked verbally.
This is wrong.
Asked a very good question. Here's what he asked. Voters should consider basic character questions. Would you let someone like Graham Plattner date your daughter? Would you let somebody like Graham Plattner around your wife? Would you let somebody like Graham Plattner babysit your kids? And these are precisely the kinds of character judgments we routinely make in other contexts, but yet we're supposed to suspend these ideas for political candidates. So, well, Doug, it's all about the position. Planners, oh, it's all about the policy. You know, quit focusing on character. No, your character matters. If you are a bleeping so and so in your life, your personal life, I'm not going to trust you with my life, at least on the political end of things. And the fact that the Democratic leaders still support this guy, despite his history of mocking wounded soldiers, his alleged sexting scandals, and I get it. I'm a guy, man. We do things, we make mistakes when we're younger. And if he was smart, if he went, you know what, man? I was younger, I was dumb. You know, back when I got my Nazi tattoo, you know, the Nazi, soldiers were seen as fierce warriors. So I got it with that in mind, not realizing that it would have such a negative impact later. It was, I made a judgment error. When I was younger, and I few years ago, many years ago, whatever, I wasn't right with women. Man, I tell you what, this new wife that we've been married a couple years now, she's really changed me. I understand things better than I did. I'm a changed man. If he was to do something like that, I may still not 100% trust him, but I'd at least be willing to listen to him a little bit because he owned up. You know what I'm saying? But he's not owning up to it. He's outright, he's lying. Well, I didn't know what the tattoo meant. I didn't know it was a Nazi. Bull!
He knew.
You don't get a tattoo and not know what it means.
Especially when
Well, I don't know. I've heard people get like tattoos of like a Japanese language something, and the book will say it means one thing, and then someone who speaks Japanese goes around and says, "Why do you have a tattoo that says on your?" Well, that's not what they told me it meant, right? So I get that. But it's like if you ever been to a tattoo parlor, I have twice, didn't leave with a tattoo. My friends could not get me drunk enough. I was in the Navy. I'm probably one of the few sailors in this world that doesn't have a tattoo. But you go through those books, and one of them I went through was in a different country. So I'm not just talking about America. One was American, and the other one was in Hong Kong, where I went through these books.
You were gonna get a tattoo?
I was considering it. Actually, I went through a book in Philippines also. So 3 times I've considered it, but I didn't do it. But and you go through these books with the images. Well, which one do you want, right? It's not just a book full of pictures. They're grouped. So if you want butterfly, you go to the butterfly section. There's like 20 different butterflies or 12 or whatever. If you want a sports tattoo, they're going to have the sports section or the sports booklet, and then a different page for different teams or types of sports or whatever. If you want to get a military tattoo, there's a section for Navy, and there's a section for Army, and there's a section for Air Force, section for the Marines. So that means more than likely, I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure, but more than likely when he was looking at which tattoo he wanted, what would he say? It was in Albania or something like that? He's looking through the book, what tattoo he wants. Chances are the Nazi tattoo was with other Nazi tattoos. So it was probably right next to a swastika and an SS logo symbol. And, an iron cross and an iron eagle. All the Nazi tattoos are probably together. So to sit there, I didn't know what it meant. Bull. Typically, what most people when they get a tattoo, there is a significant reason behind it. They've got something in mind, a message they want to have. They may have drawn something. They may have a picture. They may have a logo. They may go through the book. But there's a reason. You don't get tattoos willy-nilly. There's a reason for the tattoo for most people. There are some people, man, and they don't care, and so there's always an exception to the rule. But typically, if someone, I mean, I cannot, let me rephrase this. I cannot tell you how often I've talked to someone and say, yeah, well, when I got this tattoo, I was at such and such, and this was going on in my life, and so I got it to represent that. And this one, if you look carefully, that's my mom, and she died when I was 17, and so I've got, in memoriam. And then this one, this logo was the one I could find closest to that represented the unit I was in, and right? And those of you who had tattoos, you know what I'm talking about. Every tattoo has a story, typically. And this guy's going to try to convince us. He had no clue. Now, the reason why it's a big deal is not because I really don't care if you have tattoos or not. What kind of tattoos you have really don't matter. But when you have a leftist mindset spending all its time calling its opposition a bunch of Nazis, if they hadn't done that for the last 60 years, they've been doing it since the 60s, calling Republicans Nazis and fascists. I don't know if you knew that. They called Barry Goldwater a fascist after a speech he did. The only thing missing was what was it? I'm trying to remember. There was a CBS commentator at the time that said the only thing that was missing from his speech was black boots and a Heil Hitler or something like that, or a Sieg Heil. It goes all the way back to like 68 or 66, something like that. They've been doing this so long that it's the hypocrisy. I mean, if he was like, hey man, I was in the Marine Corps, man, and we were, fierce fighting unit, and while I don't agree with the Nazi philosophy, Nazi soldiers were considered to be fierce warriors, so I got it thinking of that. I might halfway believe him. But the stupid response of, I didn't even know it was a Nazi tattoo. He knew.
Yeah.
He damn well knew, but he's trapped. Why? Because when someone's guilty of something, all you gotta do is ask them a simple question, and usually they don't know how to wiggle out of it. He didn't know how to wiggle out of it. He's guilty because I think he really is, in his mind, a fascist, communist, socialist bastard. I think he knew what it was, and he's proud of the ideology. That's my opinion. But, and so why is his, Cold Steel says he was Navy and Army and no tats. So I guess I'm not the only military guy who refused to get, I had, like I said, I had like 3 opportunities. One time in San Diego, Philippines, and Hong Kong. But, my friends were all, it was like, it was like Starship Troopers, right? That's, we're all getting their tattoos. Yeah, man, death from above. And I'm like, yeah, no. I have a needle phobia. That's a part of the problem. And part of the problem is it's just tattoos never been appealing to me. And guys that are like tatted from their like chin to their ankles, that's to me not very appealing in the world. If they want to, I don't really care, but I don't think it is very appealing if you're trying to get a job as a desk jockey or in some high rise or something. And everybody's different, and in the end, I'm a guy of liberty. You want to tat yourself up, go for it. Just understand that because people have their own views, the way they look at things, they judge you by what you drive and where you live and what kind of house you live in, and how you dress and how many tattoos you got, and if you got a teardrop under your eye, and the names of your kids creeping up your temples or whatever. That's just reality. I'm not saying yay, nay, whatever. I'm not a fan of tattoos myself personally.
Some tattoos are pretty though.
Yeah, some are pretty.
Tattoos.
I would never get a pretty tattoo. If I was to get tattoos, it wouldn't be because they're pretty.
Well, I would get, if I ever got a tattoo, it'd be a tattoo of a little turtle or a little butterfly or a little heart.
Well, so if I were to get tattoos, and I have seriously considered it, very simple. U.S. Navy logo on one arm, we the people on the other. Either upside or outside. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, probably maybe out here. But yeah. That's what it'd be. Navy logo, some type of, like an anchor or something, maybe with both of my ships' names on it. Maybe one will say Chandler and Peoria or something like that. That'd be cool. Maybe you got the anchor and you got some waves behind it, maybe the ship, some.
But if you got a tattoo, then I can get myself a tattoo too.
And then the other one, like I said, would be We the People. Hegseth has this We the People tattoo, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. I love that tattoo. So if I were to get tattoos, that would probably be what I would get.
So if you got a tattoo, I can get a tattoo too?
You can get a tattoo if you want.
Really?
Yeah, I've never told you you're not allowed to. It's not my place to tell you whether or not you're allowed to.
Oh, don't go there. You said,
But
there's a but there.
just be aware that,
What? See? Don't tell me. No.
Hey man, it's your body.
Okay.
Just don't put it somewhere where I have to see it when I'm, spending time with you, might cause, certain things to not be so,
Then maybe I should go get a tattoo then, huh?
You're funny.
Let's just say you actually got one.
Yeah, I got there's a scene in Big Bang Theory, Kuthopolis, with this Emily, I think is her name.
Yeah.
The redhead. And he says, "You have any tattoos?" And she says, "Yeah, I've got one that's sort of out of sight, one that's very out of sight, and one that's very, very out of sight," or something along those lines. He's like, "Ooh." But anyway, get back to the point here. This isn't about tattoos, so I don't want to make this about tattoos.
My attitude is about tattoos. It's your body. You can do what you want with it. You have to live with whatever consequences you have on your body.
Yeah.
Whether
I mean, people, whether it's right, wrong, or in between, people are going to have their preconceived notions based on what they see.
Because I'm not going to judge a person based on tattoos. I'm going to judge them on their character.
Right. And I'm the same way. I try to be, but like I said, not everybody's that way.
Right. I am.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, Mrs. 321, or QRS 321. I guess that's kind of a Mrs., but a QS. Okay. Says, "Oh, Doug, quit while you're still ahead." Yeah, I know. That's the old joke, by the way. You heard about the guy, and
He figured out women, and he couldn't figure out how he died. Right?
No. He made a wish, and it wound up causing him to lose his legs. Then he made another wish, and it caused him to lose his arms. They made another wish, and it made him lose his body. And final wish, it caused him to, when he was only ahead, to vanish. And so what's the moral of the joke? You need to stop while you're still ahead.
Funny.
But anyway, okay.
Gotta be careful what you wish for.
Well, it's not about wish, but yeah.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, get back to the point and get back to Plattner. He's got all these character issues.
Mm-hmm.
History of mocking wounded soldiers.
Right.
The sexting scandals. Yeah. A very, very shocking lack of judgment. And a cynical calculation that winning, and this is the Democrats, not just him, a cynical calculation that winning outweighs all of the considerations. Power is more important than character to these people. And this is the reason I wanted to talk about it. Because it reveals to us, A, who these people are, and B, it is so bananas. They got to be doing it on purpose. They got to be testing the waters. They got to be saying, "Hey, man, let's see if we can get even the craziest guy in there. Because if we do that, man, we got society and we can start moving America towards socialism." I really do think that's a part of it. Also, getting back to the normalizing things.
Right.
We put out something that's this crazy, then kind of crazy, don't look so bad.
The boiling frog thing. Again.
Boiling frog thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So understand, this is not just about a Senate race in Maine. But like I said, I typically really don't care what happens in Maine. That's up to Maine. That's their problem.
That's true.
I got to deal with Oregon, man. I live in Oregon. It's bad enough here because of Portland.
Yeah, but that's still way up north, though, Portland.
Well, yeah, but it still affects our state politics because of democracy, which is a problem. We weren't intended to be a democratic. We were intended to be a republic. The democracy was only supposed to be in the state house. The state Senate's not supposed to be that way, but it is. And so because of Portland and because of democracy, the nuts run both houses. Now here, though, because the rest of the state's not as nuts, the population between Republicans and Democrats is pretty close. It's not a super majority like it is in California. But anyway, to get back to my point here, so I want us to understand that, I'm watching my political leaders and what they're trying to get me to accept. The message that we send our culture
Yeah.
is important because they seem to think that overlooking fundamental character flaws in pursuit of political advantage is fine. And there's enough lemmings that are voting in that way.
Mhm.
I mean, if the Democratic Party can successfully run a candidate with Plattner's history and Plattner's character, what's next? Where do we draw the line? And so I think that the Plattner plan may be a test, but it's also a referendum on our own values as voters. Are we going to reward political parties that prioritize power over principle? Well, Susan Collins is quite lefty. Yeah, but at least she's a Republican. No. I want a good person. I don't care if she has an R after her name or a D or whatever. I'm tired of settling for an R after their name and watching the parties give us two pieces of garbage and then trying to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm sick of it. And I'm tired of them prioritizing power over principle, over morality, over character. So, we need to demand better from those who seek to represent us. Gets back to now, once again, we complain about the cockroaches in Washington, but we breed them locally. We keep letting these cockroaches in. We keep letting these cockroaches into our walls and into our kitchens and into our ceilings in a place called Washington, D.C., and in a place called your state capital, and in a place called your city council. Why? Why do we keep doing this? Well, yeah, but the party, they're going to give us, well, then don't let them. And if we're willing to stand up for this, if we're willing to stop this kind of stuff, not just during this election, but any future election, then it will influence, it will shape American politics for years to come. But we have to do something about it. We have to stand up to this garbage. Anything you want to add? Because
No.
Plattner's a real piece of cake, real piece of work, should I say?
No,
piece of cake.
what puzzles me is the fact that we know who he is, what he is, that we know of thus far.
Mhm.
And the texting other women is so childish and so immature. That's beside the point. And that these women have come out and said something about it, and they're not taking their word for what's happening. They're being ignored. They want this guy at any cost to win, and they'll do it regardless of what people are saying.
No, and it goes
Yeah.
back to character.
It is, yeah.
I really don't care if he has a tattoo. It's messed up that he has it, but what is his platform? What is his character? And the problem with the tattoo is not that he has the tattoo or a tattoo. It's
No.
the fact that it represents
Yes.
bad character, bad judgment, bad
Right.
decision making, and then he lied about it, which adds to the bad character. I
Right.
mean, like I said, if he had the tattoo, he says, "Yeah, man, I got this when I was younger. As in the military, I thought it was a cool tattoo, and we, Nazi, warriors are, fierce and fierce, and I get, and then I could kind of get
But
it.
you know what? But then you look at it this way, in the sense that you could be drunk off your butt and you go in there, I just wanted a tattoo, whatever, and not.
Well, I don't. That doesn't really. I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
going in while you're drunk happens a lot, but even then, usually, like I said, and for those of you who have tattoos, correct me if I'm wrong. When you get a tattoo, you know what you're doing, and there's a reason behind it. There's a special message behind it, or something. You don't just willy-nilly, anything will do. You pick. You don't do. This is something that's gonna be on your body forever. You get something that's gonna mean something. SIBO 45. So you said term limits must be born in the USA, no insider trading. I agree with two of them. Term limits, not so much, because the problem isn't the politicians as much as it is the bureaucracy. Even if you have, in fact, if you had term limits, it would get worse. You know how I know? Because that's what California did. California went to term limits. They already got the bureaucracy hard left, like the bureaucracy in Washington. And they went to term limits and it got worse quickly. Why? Because, see, when it comes to Democrats, when one goes out and another one comes in, it's like the Borg. There's no difference. But a Republican, what happens is you start losing the good ones, and then they get replaced by a member of the party who thinks they got to be Democrat light to get in there. And then eventually, since they're no different than Democrats, the Democrat winds up getting the position. Plus, also, you get all these newbies going up against this bureaucracy instead of someone's been in for a while and knows how to handle those jerks. So, be honest with you, term limits is actually very dangerous. It's a bad idea. When it comes to, I kick the other. Okay.
Yeah. Over there.
Okay, so term limits at the executive, I agree with. Legislative, not so much. Now, that said, at local level, there was a term limit deal that was added in Murrieta, California, years back that I thought was actually pretty good. You cannot serve more than 2 consecutive terms. And what that would do is after serving 2 terms, you had to take at least 2 years off, in other words, till the next election. And what that did is that meant that you now had to earn your seat back, but not as an incumbent. And so I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, but yeah, term limits, it can be dangerous. And it was dangerous in California. It made the situation worse. Term limits actually makes it worse. We already have term limits anyway. Vote them out. If we are involved, see, term limits means we don't have to be involved because they're going to be gone, and we're not as involved. Everybody thinks we need term limits because we're not doing our job. Throw out the bums. Vote out the bums. If we're not going to do our job, term limits ain't going to help it. A. B, it creates like I said, a worse situation. I understand your frustration. I understand how everybody about term limits is, but they make millions, Doug. It's a trip to Vegas with house money. Yes, I understand that, but term limits is not the answer. Us being informed, us being involved, us throwing the bums out. And here's what I think would work. Here's what I think would be better. And Butterfingers just said, term limit their employees. Exactly. So what I believe we should do, and I think this should be a constitutional amendment so that there's nothing they can do about it. Whenever there's a new president, whenever the presidency changes hands, every single bureaucrat gets their pink slip and they have to reapply to keep their job.
I like that. I think it sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way the new president's not stuck with the old bureaucracy and the old deep state.
Right. I agree. It's like a new manager coming over and taking over a store.
Mhm.
They get rid of the other people and they hire their own people.
Right.
I think they should do that. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
I also think that when a new representative goes to office, the problem is a lot of their staffers are assigned to them.
Yeah, and I don't think that.
And I don't think that's any good either.
Beyond that too.
Maybe one person assigned in the sense because they are familiar with how Washington works, and then every other staffer should be chosen directly by the new
Yes, I agree.
office holder.
You could always have the older staffer when the representative hires this other staff, keep one so you can show them how the ropes are with the other staff. That would be a good thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have anything else to add?
No. Okay. What's our next topic?
What is our next topic?
Oh, the gentleman that went to prison who killed somebody else. Remember?
Oh, Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
You want to talk about Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah. I'm bothered by the fact that it's being made more than it actually is.
Right.
And Crockett, it's not helping at all. I think she's adding to the whole thing and is making it more than it actually is.
So Carmelo Anthony was found guilty of murdering
Yes.
Austin Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
He stabbed him.
Yes.
A 19-year-old, and Metcalf, I think it was 17, right? He's a young. He's still I think he was still a minor. I may be
I'm
wrong,
not sure if it was.
but I know that
17.
Carmelo Anthony's 19,
Yes.
so he's an adult,
Right.
and Carmelo Anthony was guilty.
Found guilty by.
You look at the evidence, it was clear he was looking for a fight.
Yes, he was.
He went to this track meet,
Right.
entered this tent, and I believe with the intent of killing Austin Metcalf. He approached him. Either to kill Austin Metcalf or maybe, he's just looking for a white guy to kill.
The fact is though, Douglas, he was a man on a mission.
Well, here's the facts.
He was going to kill somebody regardless if it was him or somebody else.
All right, so here's the facts.
Okay.
All right, without getting into any of the stuff that they
Right.
talked about. Here's just the basic facts that we know.
Okay.
Carmelo Anthony went into a tent that he was not supposed to be in.
True. That we know.
Austin Metcalf and others in the tent
Right.
said, "You need to get out,"
He didn't belong there.
and he refused to.
True. Yeah.
Then Metcalf, not Metcalf, I'm sorry,
Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony made a threatening
Right.
thing, said
Right.
something threatening to
Right.
Austin, "You touch me, I'll kill you," or something like
Right.
that. I can't remember the exact words.
Right.
Nobody in that tent had a weapon on them except Carmelo Anthony.
Mhm.
He brought a knife in.
Right.
And I don't care how long the knife was. Because
It's
we're
irrelevant.
watching a Jazzy,
Yeah.
what's her name?
Crockett.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she say, well, it was like a Swiss knife or something. Even if it was, it wasn't. But even
Right.
if it was,
It's not the
the
point.
fact is it had a sharp point and it was
Right.
inserted into the person's body.
Right.
It's a deadly weapon. If I use a pencil to stab
You
you
can
and
kill someone. Right.
I attempt or succeed at breaking through, and
Yeah.
it's a deadly weapon. I don't care if it's a pocket knife, a Swiss Army knife, a pencil, or a very sharp fingernail. If you're using it to break the skin and kill someone, it's a deadly weapon.
Yeah. He was intended. He wanted. It was.
Okay. Now, so
Okay.
those are the facts. On that alone, now the defense say, well, it was self-defense.
How was it?
All right.
self-defense?
So what did Austin Metcalf do to make them say it's self-defense?
Yes. Right.
After trying to get the kid to leave, and he refused, it is said that Austin Metcalf then put his hands on the guy, pushed him towards the door, pushed him. Get out of here, man.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong.
Kids
with
do that. Young men do that. We
Right.
all do that.
We all do that. Right.
Is it reasonable to consider that Carmelo Anthony believed that his life was at risk when Austin did that? No.
No.
Austin and Carmelo were roughly the same build, same size. Metcalf was a track guy and a football guy. Maybe he was a little bit bigger. But it wasn't a situation like Sonny Hostin on The View says, oh, if a 300-pound guy gets on me and he's totally tackling me, I'm going to,
Yeah.
that's not what it was.
No.
You're making something that it wasn't.
Right. I agree.
First of all. Second of all, it was a push. He didn't tackle him. He didn't come down on him. He didn't start beating on him.
Yeah.
Anthony's life was not in danger. He was trespassing into a space he shouldn't have.
Right.
And he's the one that pulled out the knife. And then why did he have the knife on him? Now
There you go.
here's the thing.
Okay.
I carry a pocket knife.
Right.
I've actually lost a pocket knife because I went to what's that place called up there where the Portland Trail Blazers
Yes.
play, and I had it in my pocket, and we went into it was for the NCAA March Madness.
Right.
We were there for a couple of games,
Yes.
and so when they have you take everything out of your pockets, I'm like, oh. Guys, I can't take it in.
Right.
So he kept my knife, and it got discarded.
Yes.
It got thrown away. I lost my knife. So I understand someone who likes to carry a knife. And my knife doesn't look a whole lot different, actually,
Than his.
than the one that Anthony had. So here, let me, just for the sake of the audience, so you can see it. So I've got, so this is my pocket knife I always carry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I always carry it. No intent to harm anybody. It's just I like having a knife on me for a number of reasons. You know, and there's a number of times I'm glad I have it on me. So I even get having a knife on you. He may or may not have the knife on him for the purpose of killing. We can have that discussion until the cows come home. Nobody knows for sure inside his head except for
Right.
him. But the fact is, he's the only one who had a weapon, and he's the one that used the weapon that was in his pocket.
Right.
It's one thing to have it, it's another thing to pull it out and use it. And that's what he did. And then they're saying, oh, well, it was illegal lynching. The guy killed him. Well, how was that a lynching?
It's not.
And then the representative for Carmelo Anthony claimed that he got 35 years in prison for the murder of Austin Metcalf because he's black. He should have gotten more.
Yes.
He may very well have only gotten 35 because he's black. They're like, oh, well, that's too long because he's black. No, actually, I think they went easy on him because he's black. Not that I think race should be a part of it, but I think it was. In the end, I really don't care if you're purple. If you kill somebody, it's malicious.
Yes.
It's premeditated, or
Yes.
it may have been premeditated even if it was just a moment to think about it. I don't care what color you are. You deserve to be sentenced to punishment. And if it's a malicious premeditated murder that ends the life of somebody, especially someone as young as Metcalf, I don't care how young you are, Anthony, should have gotten the chair or at least the 99 years, and then maybe an option for parole at 44 and a half years. Or no, I'm sorry, 50, yeah. So what would be half of 99? 45 plus whatever. Yeah, I'm a writer. I don't do math. But anyway. So whatever half of 99 years is. So 49 and a half. That's what it is. Thank you. I had to think
But
about it.
what I'm saying is, though, Doug, I don't know why these people are crying about it.
Well, and here's what's even worse.
He got what he
He
deserved.
killed him,
Yes.
and his twin brother is holding his brother,
Right.
bleeding to death, basically spending time with his own brother for the rest of that brother's
Right.
life.
Horrible.
There's no self-defense about it.
No, none.
If someone pushes you, even if they knock you to the ground, if they're not pouncing on you, if they don't have a weapon, if they're not slamming you in the face or trying to, there is no fear of your life.
No. Doug, I believe he had an agenda. First, I don't know if he liked this guy or didn't like him.
We don't know the reasons.
Whatever.
Only he knows inside his head.
Right. But the fact is that he came on school grounds, right? With a knife, says
Yeah.
a lot about the person's character.
Sure it does. Getting back to character.
Right. Says a lot of he had a mission. He was already going to do something because he already had that pocket knife with him. It's a school ground. There's no reason for having it. So I have no idea what was his purpose for being there in the first place.
And so then the claim is, well, this whole thing's racist because it's because he's black.
No. I don't think-
If the victim had been white, I'm sorry, black, if
Yeah.
the victim had been black and the attacker had been white, there would have been death penalty for 99 years. And there would have been rioting in the streets,
Yeah. Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, nobody made it racist.
No.
So what was a white jury? No, it wasn't. It was a mixture. No, granted, there was no blacks on the jury. But then again, that may have skewed. You want
Okay.
people to be as unbiased as possible. So it was like, I think it was like an Asian and a few Hispanics and a mixture and white mixture. But it doesn't matter. I mean, someone with common sense can look at this based on the evidence.
Right,
One guy walks in with a knife in his pocket or in his hand.
right,
The other guy doesn't have a weapon. The guy who doesn't have a weapon is where he belongs. The guy who has a weapon has entered a space he doesn't belong,
Yeah.
is asked to leave,
Right.
and his response is to stab someone to death.
yeah, there's a red flag right there.
It's
Yeah.
pretty clear. It's pretty, I was gonna say black and white, but that's probably not the
No,
right way to say it. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and like I said, the 35-year sentence,
he's lucky.
that's a
Right.
mild sentence considering what he did.
Yeah. Because he's still gonna be fed 3 times. He still has a bed. He's still gonna be fed, be able to go out, watch TV, be able to work out. So what's the problem? What is he complaining about? You know? So he's in a safe place. He's not out there going to kill somebody else. So yeah. 35 years is not bad for taking an innocent life. You should have got more. He took,
And here's the reason why it's a big story.
okay.
Our culture is spiraling towards this idea of class warfare. It's all about class warfare.
Okay.
So there shouldn't even be a group here of this group or that group.
Right.
One person, regardless of what group he belongs to,
Okay.
stuck a knife into another person.
Right.
And the person who was stabbed did not produce a threat that would make the person who did the stabbing fear for his life.
Right.
And the person who did the stabbing was in a space that he was not supposed to be into. He had gone in there, made a verbal threat, and then acted upon it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the groups are. But see, getting back to this communist, socialist, leftist, progressive garbage, we're supposed to believe that everything's a group and therefore it's racist and it's class warfare. This is all about creating an environment of class warfare. This is a result of the communist revolution going on in America. The communist revolution of class warfare is no longer a distant threat. It's happening now. And the thing is about America, see, in the Soviet Union, China, whatever, the class warfare was easy because you have your what they call the bourgeois, which is the wealthy,
Okay.
the owners, the ones who run the businesses, and the peasants, the proletariat.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got two well-defined, easy to define classes. You got
Yeah.
the wealthy elite and the peasants,
It's one or the other. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so the argument is the wealthy elite are holding you down, peasants, rise up against them.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that's right. It's, you know, the whole reason why they were in trouble, it was a problem anyways, because they didn't have a system of liberty in the first place. But nonetheless, in that situation, from the Marxist point of view, you could see the definition between
Yes.
the two classes.
Right.
America has liberty and a free market. So yes, while there are the wealthy and the to-do, and there are those who are not there, there's all kinds of spots in between. There's the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are born poor and you are born in a tough neighborhood and you've got to work your tail off just to feed yourself, you can, in our system, work your way up and sit at the same table as those wealthy elite whatever. You want an example? Ben Carson. So in America, you don't have the same opportunity for defining class warfare of the wealthy elite versus the peasants. Because it really, even though there are those people,
Yes.
those classes don't exist per se.
Okay.
Because you could jump classes.
Yes.
The people who are wealthy can lose everything pretty quick and,
Yes.
and be nothing. And the people who are at the bottom can work their way up, like Ben Carson. Elon Musk was a immigrant.
Yes.
He is now the first trillionaire
Yes.
in world history. He was an immigrant who made some good decisions, good investments, did the right thing. He did come here with a little bit in his pocket.
Mm-hmm. He did.
My grandfather, I can't remember if it was his parents or grandparents, something like that, came from Ireland. Something like that. He went to World War II. When he got back from World War II, the only work he could find was to pick fruit in the Central Valley. Be a farm worker, which we're told today is something Americans are not willing to do. My grandfather, white American, mostly Irish, did that. And he was a sharecropper. He didn't get paid money. He lived in a shack with a dirt floor that they provided with his wife and my mom as a little kid. And he got basically paid, and I guess, a share of the crops. It basically was legalized slavery in many ways. Grandma worked as a checker at Safeway. Between him sharecropping her as a checker, and eventually he learned how to install carpets. So he started working for a company, slamming his knee into that machine, installing carpets. Mm-hmm. So he got out of being a farm worker and moved up to installing carpets. She still worked at Safeway as a checker. And they went from that shack in Bakersfield to a mobile home with wheels in a mobile home park. My mom never had a house growing up. She did not live in a house until she got married to my dad, and that was short-lived because that didn't work out too well. Then she's living in a hotel paid for by her friends, and then with her aunt and stuff like that until she married my dad. And then even then, they rented until I was like 9, 10. I think it was 10 when they bought that house in North Long Beach. And then they sold that house and bought another house in Corona when I was 12. My mom didn't have a home before that. A home. She had a shack with a dirt floor, or she had a motorhome that she lived in. My grandfather worked his tail off. He began as a farm worker. He then installed carpets. Then he started cleaning carpets also. And Grandma was a checker at Safeway and had a pretty good retirement program, I guess. They started dirt poor. And while my mom never had a lot, it was reasonable by the time she graduated. Then when she married my stepdad when I was 3, he's a dairy farmer from Arkansas. No education, just came back from Vietnam, Marine Corps. And he accepted me as his kid. So he immediately got married. He already had 3 mouths to feed, including himself, me, and my mom. Then they had my sister shortly after that. And my sister had to share a room in the apartment. Upstairs, bunk bed. Then we moved into our house in North Long Beach. She had just had my little brother. So he was a baby, and I had to share my room with him because it was a 3-bedroom house. Lisa got her own room, and then it was us boys in our room. That was our first house, and it was a teeny little house in a really rough neighborhood. Really rough neighborhood. And then when I was 12, Dad just worked his tail off, went to school and did this and did that. And finally he earned, his, what do you call it? Contracting license for air conditioning and refrigeration.
Mhm.
And then a hospital hired him to handle their air conditioning and refrigeration and boilers. And then things started to go decent. He worked his way up. Now they're retired and do really well in Arkansas. But they started from nothing. In America, that's possible,
Yeah.
regardless of who you are. It had nothing to do with color or anything. Tell us about being age 10 in 1976 USA. Did you have a cool childhood? I will say that was the coolest July 4th I've ever had. Of course, I have a feeling this one's going to be even better. My aunt and uncle lived in Irvine, and I mean, there was so many fireworks. It was a party, man, in that cul-de-sac. I mean, everybody was like making hamburgers and share alike and fireworks. And there was this one that they had like this pinwheel, and it was on this. They built it, and it was supposed to spin, and it fell off, and then it rolled up the street. It hit some guy, went up his leg, freaked out. Everybody's chasing it. I can still remember that. Um, did I skateboard? Not very well. I was a surfer. I did go surfing, but for some reason, skateboard didn't work too well for me. Now my brother, put him on a skateboard. He was awesome, man. He was ripping it. My little brother, he's 9 years younger than me. He shredded it on the skateboard. I did have a skateboard. I wasn't real good at my skateboard. It was more to just get me up and down the street. I wasn't like doing tricks with it and stuff. I also had a Huffy bicycle. That was my baby, man. And it was all black, had the straight handlebars and the puffy, rectangular seat. Man, I love that bike. Used to ride that bike everywhere. Yeah. And the attitude was, when the street lights come on, you got to come home. The dinner will be served shortly after that. So my parents, they didn't. I mean, we went out and played. I did spend some time in the house. I have a creative side, so my creativity had me doing things inside the house too. But yeah, mostly we were outside playing, man. And we drank out of the hose. Did I have a dog and a paper route? I kind of had a paper route. I didn't have the kind of paper route where you ride a bike and you throw the papers. I didn't have a paper route until I had a driver's license, and then I delivered newspapers to machines and stores. And then also during the week, on Thursdays and Sundays, I did the inserts. So, because you got to put all the inserts together and then put the paper inside the inserts, I did that also. I got paid like $40 a week to do that. And then I also worked for a pizza place in town. So, but yeah, my paper route was not your typical paper route. We had when I was a little kid, we had a poodle, and then Chachette. That was my mom's dog Chachette. I don't remember when she got him because she got him before I think I was shortly after I was born. I don't remember. And then we had a Doberman,
Mm.
a German Shepherd
Mix.
yeah, when we lived in Corona.
Mhm.
And I had a rabbit named Fluffy. And Fluffy and the German Shepherd would play together in the yard, which is kind of cool. When my parents first moved to Corona, it was a dirt road. They built their own house. It was a lot cheaper to do it that way. It cost them like 80,000, 87,000, something like that to build it. But then they had to and that includes hooking up the water, but they had to go through all of that jazz. And then Dad, because he's kind of a jack of all trades, when they decided to turn the back patio into a den, he hired contractors, got ticked off at them, kicked them off the job, and then did it himself. And I think it looked better in the long run. So he's that kind of guy. He can do just about everything. I'm about as handy as a monkey with 14 thumbs. So, I mean, I can build things, but did you see, why are you so interested in my past? We're talking politics here. I mean, I'm willing to answer the questions. I did not wear a helmet when I rode my bike. Let's see. Did you pop rocks? Yeah, pop rocks with Coke, absolutely. And boy, that was an explosion. Did you have slime? Not when I was a kid, but my kids had slime, so I'm familiar with it. I didn't have an erector set. I had Lincoln Logs, and I had Legos. I loved Legos. I was not into the Bee Gees, but my mom was. After she saw Saturday Night Fever, she got that Dad Blasted album and played it 24 between Elvis Presley and the Bee Gees. I've had enough of that to last me a lifetime from my mom. That was her thing. I never got into Fleetwood Mac. I did like the Eagles. I was in 79 and 80. I kind of got into punk rock. And so I was and so I was kind of a weird kid at that point. So I was listening to GBH and Black Flag and Sex Pistols, and I think GBH, let's see, Black Flag I think came a tad later maybe, but and then Pink Floyd The Wall, I was into that also. Virginia and I we went to different middle schools, but we went to the same high school. We met in high school. And her background is a little different than mine. I lived in an area that was considered outside Corona. It's called El Cerrito, and it was, kind of the outskirts. It wasn't a part of Corona at the time. And like I said, we had dirt roads, stuff like that. And my school bus on my way to my middle school, Auburndale, junior high is what they called it because it was 7th, 8th, and 9th. And we would drive practically right by two other junior highs on the way. I had to go all the way out on the edge of a town called Norco in order to go to junior high. So we would pass Rainey and Corona Junior High. She went to Rainey. And then we both went to Corona High and met there. But back then, Corona only had one high school. Now they've got, Buena Vista was always there, but that was like
Right.
a continuation school and like GED school for, adult stuff like that. But Corona High, and then they added Centennial, which my brother and sister went to, and Santiago, which is actually named after her grandfather, Santiago. Santiago High School in Corona is named after her grandpa. So, where did you go on Liberty? I was stationed in San Diego, and so I spent a lot of time in Tijuana back then. When we went on the Westpac, Hawaii, Yokosuka, we drove up. Well, we got a ride, didn't drive. We got a ride up to Tokyo, came back down. Olongapo, Philippines, Subic Bay, Hong Kong, Darwin, Australia. It's on the north side. That's where we docked. And then Diego Garcia. It wasn't really Liberty. It was get fueled, take a break, stretch your legs, buy a couple things. And then we hit two spots in the Middle East. One of them was, I think, in the UAE. I can't remember where the other one was off the top of my head because I didn't get off the ship in the Persian Gulf. And then we came back, and then Hawaii again. Did some trips to San Francisco. I was in the Pacific Fleet, so I really didn't. So I never went to like Norfolk and all that jazz. See, 50% of the people in my town don't wear a helmet when riding a bike. 100% of the people up in the hills where I live don't wear a helmet, but one moment you get down into town, you do. We used to drink out of the hose if we were thirsty. And everyone says, well, why didn't you just go? I had a kid one time say, well, why didn't you go inside? Just drink out of the sink or something, or out of the arrowhead thing. Well, we didn't have an arrowhead thing. I drank out of the hose because mom anyway, said, don't come in until you're in for the evening. So you drink out of the hose. Besides, it had a special taste to it. Remember drinking out of the hose? And at first the water would come out real hot and you'd have to wait for a moment.
Yeah. We can go to the house, inside the house, if we had to go to the bathroom. But
Well, yeah. You can go inside the house to go potty. And then you better make sure you either took off your shoes or that your shoes weren't dirty.
Yep, that's
right.
True. Yeah.
Same thing with you. Of course, you girls didn't get to like play like I did. I mean, mom and dad would be like, "Yeah, come back when you're ready to come home."
Oh no.
But your dad was a lot more strict. She's the oldest of 7 girls in a
Very strict.
fairly rough neighborhood.
But it was at the far end of the neighborhood.
Right.
So they knew us. I never felt fear in that
right,
neighborhood.
in that neighborhood.
Yeah, so it was a good.
But that was the type of neighborhood where at night, suddenly they'd find a way to turn off the street lights,
Yeah.
and-
Siphon the gas out of your vehicles.
really? Yeah. I remember someone tried to steal my 10-speed bike. My parents bought me a 10-speed
Oh, that's bad.
when I was in the 6th grade.
Is that your Huffy?
No, my Huffy was before that.
Oh, okay.
Huffy is not 10-speed. It's just got one
Yeah.
speed.
Oh, okay, got it.
Whatever speed your feet take it.
Okay.
But they bought me a 10-speed for Christmas my 6th grade year, and so a couple of kids tried to steal my bike, and
I'm sorry, what color were they?
the kids attacked me. Does it
Yeah.
matter? They were black kids, but it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter, but yet it does.
It doesn't, and it does.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
part of society has
Mhm.
been so poisoned by the left.
Mhm.
But I judge people by their character. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, look at back, dude. I get that. Of course, Chris Rocky's funny. He's like, dude, man, I walked in a black neighborhood. I'm nervous. So, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But anyway, and the neighborhood was getting rougher
Yeah.
as time was passing. And the junior high I was going to go to, Hamilton, and that kind of ironic since I hate Alexander Hamilton. And so they wanted to get out of there, out of the LA area because at that junior high, that's when you started to have to, you got to the point where you had to pick colors if you're going to be, and the gangs just,
Yeah.
they controlled the area. So, but anyway, so my parents' house was supposed to be done the summer of '78, and then September I would start school in my new junior high. The house didn't get done until October, so Mom would drive me from Long Beach out to Corona every day to go to school, so that I wouldn't have to change schools, so I wouldn't have to go to Hamilton Junior High. And then 6 years in Corona, junior high and high school, and then met you, got in the Navy. I and you a little bit, 5 years in San Diego. Then we bought our house in Murrieta in '89, and then we lived there from '89 until 2024, and then
Yeah.
July of 2024 we moved here, and we're coming up on a 2-year anniversary in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
4
right.
weeks. About 4 weeks.
Well, it's July 6th when I retired, July 9th. Yeah.
July 9th was the last time we went down our driveway
Yeah, yeah.
with a U-Haul.
U-Haul. Time flies.
And as for the boomers versus Gen X, I missed being a boomer by 4 months. So I'm kind of a little bit of both. Nanny Jen says the Clash. Yeah, I like the Clash. They weren't necessarily punk. They were kind of a pop punk. Did you have a slinky? My friends did. I didn't. I definitely put cards on my bike wheels. But I wouldn't put baseball cards. I was a baseball card fan. I didn't want to run the cards, so I used playing cards. What was bad about it is I didn't tell my parents, and then they would have friends come over to play cards, and suddenly they'd realize cards were missing from the decks. Fortunately, they never asked me directly, so I didn't have to lie, say I didn't take the cards out of their playing card deck. Lego. So I was huge Legos. It was all about Legos. I'm a creative type. Let's see. Okay, half right. You're being disgusting. Mr. Constitution, where were those school days? Okay, so my first elementary school was Ramona Elementary in Bellflower. I was kindergarten, first and second. Then during the summer between second and third grade, my parents moved to Arkansas. We were there about 6 weeks and came back because they wanted to bus us kids to Little Rock from Conway, and they didn't want anything to do with any busing. Plus, Dad was having trouble finding work, and they had bought like 10 acres in Conway, which was like up the road from my grandpa. My grandpa and a bunch of my aunts and uncles stuff lived in Conway. So we came back to California, and then third grade year was kind of bounced between different schools. But the main one I remember is Pat Nixon Elementary in Cerritos. And then fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade was Ulysses S. Grant Elementary School in North Long Beach. And then junior high was Auburndale in Corona, and then Corona High School. And then I've got about 32 units of junior college from Mount San Jacinto College, uh, which is in Murrieta / San Jacinto, depending on, well, Murrieta, actually, it wasn't Murrieta, it was Menifee, where the satellite campus is. So that answers the school days. I wasn't privileged as a kid, as Tina non. As a kid, no knee pads or helmet. Dad would not buy them. I didn't have knee pads or helmets either. Now I did buy rollerblades when I was about 30, and I rollerbladed a lot. But I wouldn't wear the pads that I had bought until I fell and tore open my pants and my knee was bleeding, and then I started wearing knee pads after that and elbow pads. But let's see, learned how to skateboard and BMX self-taught. Yeah, I never really got into the BMX. Like I said, I had a Huffy. I enjoyed the cool looking bike, but I never got into jumping it or anything like that. He who never quotes is never quoted. I don't know what to take from that Rottweiler. Eamon Hamilton is overrated. Not the content, but the quality of character. Let's see. The Constitution does not need to be written. It needs to be reread and then followed. Absolutely, Rottweiler. Let's see. What does your old house look like now? So Virginia and I, after being married, see, this was what, in the late 90s? So we were married probably about 15 years, 14, 15 years, and she wanted to see my old house in North Long Beach. So we drove up the street, saw the old house, looked exactly the same, nothing hadn't changed, same color, but the backyard seemed a lot smaller than I remembered as a kid. Of course, when you're this tall, everything is big to you, right? And Virginia looked around the neighborhood and looked around at like cars on people's lawns and stuff and said, "Doug, let's get out of here." So it gives you an idea of kind of the area I lived in. And then the house in Corona, we haven't been by there except for once since my parents sold it.
Yes, once.
And the landscaping's much nicer. They did something on the side, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's the same house. Never been back to the apartment there in Bellflower, so I don't even know if it's still there. Did you try marijuana in your school hours? No, I never tried marijuana ever until I was in the Navy. Tried it twice, did not like it. Smoked with a couple guys twice when I was in construction. Still wasn't a fan. I did smoke cigarettes for a while, but it was a social smoker. So I learned how to smoke in boot camp, and then I would basically smoke when I got together with my friends and they were all smoking and talking. Otherwise, I really didn't smoke much. And then I like to smoke when I drove a big rig when I had a Class A, but that was just because I was so bored. It gave me something to do. Let's see. Mr. Diamonds says, "Did you try marijuana? Tell the truth." I'm not going to play a Clinton. Oh, but I didn't inhale. I'm not going to play that game. But I wasn't a fan. I didn't like it. Let's see. I don't care if the kids know. The kids know what, I'm willing to talk about stuff, as you can see. Mr. Dynamite says class of 85, tons of weed, metal t-shirts, rock and roll. Okay, I'm class of 84. Virginia's class of 83. One of my good friends in Southern California that we went to high school together, class of 85. We hung around the same crowds, but we don't remember each other, but we remember each other's Letterman's jackets. So the back of my Letterman's jacket had Descending Dove, Christian, and then his had Red Baron, because his last name in Spanish meant Baron. And so we remember each other's Letterman's jackets. But anyway, so we became friends because he started attending one of my Constitution classes, got to know, that we went to the same high school, and the rest is history. Let's see. My parents, My parents thought it was potpourri. Every single time I smoked weed is because it was somebody else's weed and they were passing me the joint. They even rolled it. So I do not have the experience of buying weed, having weed, rolling a joint, or sticking it in a pipe or any of that. I simply was I basically benefited from somebody else's weed 4 times in my life, and all 4 times I was not a fan. We complained about, let's see, we lived on the road, up the road from Woodstock. Interesting, SIBO. So anyway, all right, enough of that. I want to get back to what I want to talk about, because I want to wrap up the show with something that's important. I'm always willing to talk to the chat room. For those of you who are like, Doug, I want to hear Constitution. Hey, man, I'll do that too. I have one listener who used to be a student, and one time he left a comment in one of my videos, less chatter, more Constitution. I'm willing to talk about stuff, but politics, Constitution, of course, that's what this is about. But I appreciate the questions. I'm always willing to talk about that stuff. I'm not going to hide anything. And I think that's the reason why Plattner ticks me off, or that, what was that, Republican? I can't remember his name now. The one that faked the phone call when he was asked a question.
Oh, yes, but I can't think of his name.
And you could tell by looking at the phone, it wasn't on a phone
No,
call.
it
And
wasn't.
he's like acting like he's on a phone. I don't play those games. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you. If I do know the answer, I'll give you the answer. I'm not going to play games. And if you ask me something directly, I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't know, I don't remember. I try to be pretty honest. That said, I've made my mistakes, and there's some things I won't talk about because they're nobody's business. But for the most part, it's like my joke is, that I try not to have any skeletons in my closet. And the way I do that is I grab all the skeletons and throw them out on the front lawn so that everybody can see them. That way, there's no surprises. There's accusations in my life. There's things that people think I am. That's not true. That I ain't going to talk about it. It's kind of ridiculous. But for the most part, I'm going to be fairly honest with people. And that's the reason why Plattner drives me nuts. That's the reason why the guy with the fake phone call drives me nuts. Instead of playing this game like you're pretending you're on the phone, just answer the question or say, I don't have an answer for you. Just, and I can't remember the name of the Republican. He's walking, and it was a lefty podcaster asking him, basically, what's the plan that Speaker Johnson has to make cuts to Social Security? And basically, the plan is to go through Social Security and cut out the waste and the fraud. So there is going to be cuts, but not because they're cutting Social Security or cutting it for people, but because they want to get rid of the bad spending, things that shouldn't be spent, people who shouldn't be receiving it, or the fraud and all that. That's what they're talking about. And so when he was asked that question, rather than say that, he pulls his phone out of his pocket and he acts like he's on the phone. But you can see on the screen, the video's looking at the screen, and it's totally not a phone call. It's got when you turn on your phone, you got the ads or the news stories or something. That's what it was. And he's, yeah, we're working on that for you now. Oh, yeah, no, we should have a meeting soon. Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's doing that kind of stupid stuff. And if you're going to do that, I don't trust you. If you're going to be like Plattner, oh, I didn't even know it was Nazi. I don't trust you. Be honest, just like I was being honest just now. Say, I was younger, I made some dumb mistakes. I'm a different person now. Or, hey, I thought the Nazi tattoo was cool, not because it was Nazi, because it just had a cool design. Yeah, we are talking about that in Congress, but it's not what you're saying. We're trying to cut fraud. Thanks for the question. Adios. Or whatever. But, don't sit there and play these games. It drives me nuts. But the reason why they do this is because this communist revolution we have going on. I was talking about that earlier. It's all about lies. It's all about deception. And they've deceived so much they don't know how not to lie. And a lot of these people too, it cracks me up. It's like the voters for Plattner, they suffer from something called ideological capture. I've talked about this a few weeks ago. This is where you have been captured by the ideology so much that even if you don't agree with all their policies, you're going to vote because the other guys are worse. Well, Doug, my brother-in-law said to me, my mom agrees with you on every issue. But the Republicans are all racist, so she's going to vote for Hillary. This is what... but she agrees with the Republicans on every issue. Yeah, she's against abortion. She believes in cutting taxes, but because the Republicans are racist, she's going to vote for Hillary. That's the stupidest thing, but that's ideological capture. You're so convinced of the other side so bad that you're willing to take garbage because the other side's so evil. And why does everybody think the Republican Party is racist? Because their enemy said so. That's like believing Hitler when he said, oh, well, fascism is the opposite of communism. That's kind of what started the fascism is on the right deal. Well, if it's the opposite of communism, communism is far left, then they must be far right. No, they're left also. They're far left-wing, big government, control the means of production, just like socialism, communism. But we believe the bad guy who says, oh, no, we're the opposite. Just like we're believing the Democrats, oh, well, they're a bunch of racists. They lie. Why would you believe them? Oh, ideological capture. We're convinced of their lie. They've got institutional control, so they've taught us since we were little kids this. They've got this cultural infiltration, systematic erosion of constitutional principles, so we just believe it. Hey, I've got an idea. How about using a little critical thinking? How about actually looking at it and thinking with your own mind instead of believing the jerks? And it's gotten to the point where the far left has abandoned incrementalism. I mean, it's an open assault on America's founding values now. And I think when Hillary was running, they believed they were so close. They could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And they were so close. Trump stuck a stick in their spokes, and it freaked them out. They've been, working so long. So now, I mean, they've abandoned the incrementalism. Hey, man, we're right there. Trump messed it up. We got to get rid of him and then finish the job. And they think they're close enough to their victory and power that they can operate now without pretense. And what they're doing, be it Plattner, be it, our institutions, this is a carefully orchestrated strategy. People say, well, it goes back to the communists, or it goes back to the Fabians, or it goes back to the Lincolnians. No, it goes all the way back to Hamilton. It's just different runners have grabbed the baton along the way. But this is an age-old strategy that they're orchestrating. That's decades, centuries in the making. And the battlefield is our minds, our institutions, our culture. And for the most part, the left has won in those battles. Not because they have superior arguments, because of their institutional infiltration. America's education system has become a pipeline for socialist agitation, producing generations who view property rights as evil and government control as virtuous. I was looking at some statistics not too long ago. This was a Heartland Institute Rasmussen report poll, late 2025. Nearly 60% of likely voters aged 18 to 24 want a Democratic Socialist in the White House in 2028. An ABC exit poll showed that New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani captured 78% of under 30 voters. The Democratic Socialists of America used to be the hippies. You remember those commie jerks back in the 60s, 70s? For us Gen Xers, they were our teachers in the 70s. And so the Democratic Socialists of America, they attracted the hippies, right? It was that older generation now. But in the last decade or so, the average age of membership to the Democratic Socialists of America went from 68 to 33. When I took a social studies class, you remember this, right?
Yes.
This female teacher I had. social studies class in Mount San Jacinto, the 1990s. I spent most of the semester debating a female professor who insisted that socialism creates fairness and equality. Equity is not the word they were using back then. And I mean, and I've always been a history buff, right? So I'm pulling all this historical evidence, and with the Constitution, I'm pulling out all this evidence of atrocities by Lenin and Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot and Castro and Che Guevara, and in the beginning, I was alone in challenging the narrative, not because I didn't have any allies, but everybody was too afraid to speak up. By the end of the class, I had formed a coalition of supporting students that was about half the class. I was willing to stand up to that stuff. It has infiltrated our school system, and people need to stand up to it. Today, I don't think the defenders of liberty and free markets and constitutional principles are doing that. I don't think the numbers are very big. I think it's dwindled to the point where I don't think anybody is standing up to these professors. And according to polls that I've been looking at, the indoctrination is so complete that 62% of voters, 62% of voters between 18 and 29, according to a poll at the, I found it at the Cato Institute on their X page, that 62% of voters ages 18 to 29 hold favorable views of socialism, with 34% favoring communism outright. Of course, socialism and communism are really the same animal, but we use the word communist for the really bad socialism, even though it's all really bad. Communism technically has never been truly achieved, and it never will be. It's not possible, but we use the word communism for the really bad stuff. Because this younger generation's been taught that government, it's got to provide all the basic needs, and success needs to be punished, if we're going to be absolutely equal. The same utopian promises that the founding fathers rejected. Well, Doug, Karl Marx wasn't born yet. Socialism didn't exist. Yeah, it did. Just called a different name. Schemes of leveling. That's another way of saying redistribution of wealth. Schemes of utopianism. Communism. It's their word. The only difference between then and now is now we've got proof that it fails in recent history, where communism last century resulted in over 100 million deaths. But the economic front of this revolution, it manifests through direct attacks on property rights. And property rights, life, liberty, and property, that's a cornerstone of American prosperity. Life, liberty, property, that's to quote John Locke. I mean, you got Senator Bernie Sanders. He recently proposed to confiscate 50% of the wealth of America's largest AI companies through an ownership tax. That's a shocking departure from constitutional norms, don't you think? It's a direct attack on private owned property. This isn't taxation, but it's expropriation. It's literally seizing private property without compensation, which violates the Fifth Amendment, right? Fifth Amendment, that's where your clause regarding seizing private property comes from. Eminent domain. Fifth Amendment says, hey, government cannot take property without just compensation. So, well, we paid them the market value. That's not what the founders meant. The founders meant what was acceptable to the property owner, not some government-determined fair market value. The property owner says, hey, it's priceless. I'm not giving it up. You're building the railroad around the property or whatever. You're not going to get it. They think now they could take it, no matter what. Hey, we offer them just compensation. No, you didn't. You offered them what you decided to offer them. And so you got, and today's left, they reject all of that. They believe that, taking property, that's no problem. I mean, it's, have you ever heard John Lennon's song, Imagine? It's that on steroids. You've heard the song, right? World without countries, religion too. Possessions, no possessions. brotherhood of man. And they believe all of this while ignoring that the collectivistic, anti-sovereignty, anti-American liberty systems inevitably always lead to poverty, oppression, and death. And the economic consequences, predictable and devastating. We've seen it over and over and over. So yeah, but that's because we didn't do it. We're going to do it different this time. It's like the political cartoon of, the guy sticking a fork in an electrical socket. The fork says Marxism. The guy says, hey man, the last person that did that got hurt. Oh, well, they didn't do it correctly. How do you correctly put a fork in an electrical socket and not get hurt? No such thing. How do you implement Marxist communist policies without death, destruction, and the fall of civilization? You don't. You can't. If private property is confiscated and all the means of production is through government in the name of the people, then who innovates? Who invests? Who takes risks? Who works late? Who takes chances to build companies for profit? Who will grow businesses and develop new ideas if the government can simply swoop in and take what they create? And the answer is no one. Without property rights, without the opportunity for innovation, economic dynamism dies. Everyone becomes equally miserable. And this isn't just limited to federal proposals. Look at New York City and Mayor Mamdani with his block-by-block housing plan, which is basically just a move towards eventually making the city nothing but public housing. Government-owned grocery stores and government-owned transportation. The list goes on and on and on. It's another socialist attack on property rights disguised as affordable housing policy. And if the Democratic Party has completed its transformation, I think it has, into a faction of the Democratic Socialists of America, then the frog in the pot approach is over. The gradual creep towards socialism is done. And we can see it. They're abandoning that idea now. They're not being careful. They're in favor of open calls for dismantling constitutional structures. They no longer hide their intentions to eliminate the Electoral College, separation of powers, or any other constitutional barrier to their absolute power. And California is one of the models. It's a state spiraling into dysfunction, unaffordable living costs, people escaping the state quite a bit, high numbers. I'm one of them. Democrats have a supermajority, partly because of them putting in place term limits, and partly because of the jungle primary, and partly because of all the big cities. It's a combination of the three. They got the supermajority. The Republicans are completely irrelevant in that state. And that's what they want nationwide. One-party rule where constitutional restraints are meaningless and opposition is powerless and silent and unable to stop them. And that's what we're looking at. And I mean, the 2026 primary season, we've already seen wins and runoff advancements for more than a dozen Democratic Socialists of America-backed candidates. Because they're convinced that the younger voters and the aging hippies who view socialism through rose-colored glasses will vote for them. The revolution, the communist revolution, it's not violent, it's not military. It might become that. Right now, though, it's not. They're doing it through political means, but it's no longer creeping. It's violently sprinting. This is like the Weather Underground on steroids. This is how they do it. Today's socialists live in comfort, built by the very system they claim to detest. The communist revolution is no longer coming. It's here. It operates openly in our political discourse, our classrooms, our culture. And now we've got to work to get rid of that. All right. Now that I'm done talking, united we stand, combined we kick butt. God bless America, my friends. God bless you. Thank you for spending the time with me. I am Douglas V. Gibbs, Mr. Constitution. This is my wife, Virginia, Mrs. Constitution. You're so wordy today. You said so much. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. DouglasVGibbs.com, DouglasVGibbs.com. Go to videos to see my past shows on all of my, go to radio to see my schedule, my programming schedule. Go to the blog to read what I write. It's time to hand it off to the next team. Chat room, you've been awesome.
All
I think that's the quietest I've ever seen Virginia.
Yeah, well, she talked in the very beginning a little bit, and then I just kind of went into my soapbox. Oh, Patriots Soapbox makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Well, it's
I
good
love
to
it.
see you guys. Have a good show.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your weekend. It's Friday night.
Yeah, well, I have
I don't
two
know
shows
what you're
on
gonna do,
Saturday,
but-
one show on Sunday night, so I stay busy. Monday
Well, that's
is
good,
my
though.
weekend.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
All right.
I get it. I've had that before.
Yeah, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for
All right.
taking
Take
over.
care.
Bye,
All right,
crowd.
take care. Have a good one.